We believe that the AI agents, it will reach those parts of the community that don't want to pick up a phone. I was quite surprised. Our nurse hotline is often described by people as the best service that they'd never heard of. The magic sauce is really good information on a trusted platform, can provide great outputs for people. Accurate, evidence-based, but also the public ultimately can rely on.
Hi, and welcome back to Missions to Movements. I am your host, Dana Snyder, and we are coming to you live from the studio at the Microsoft Global Nonprofit Leaders Summit. And I have with me a very special guest, Mike Osborne, Chief Information Officer at the Cancer Council Victoria. Mike, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Before we dive into the amazing work that you do, I would love to have you share a little bit about who you are, what your role is, what does a day-to-day look like if one exists, and a little bit about what just genuinely lights you up about this work you get to do.
Maybe I'll start with Cancer Council Victoria. We are a charity based out of Melbourne, Australia. I'm in part of a federation of cancer councils in the country. We focus on cancer prevention, early detection, and then cancer information and support for those affected by cancer. And finally, we focus on research, whether that's funding external cancer research or doing our own epidemiological research. But of course, all that's supported by our amazing fundraisers who are aiming to give every Victorian an opportunity to contribute to our vision of a cancer-free future.
Love that.
My role as the CIO really is two parts. There's the day-to-day bit of just making sure that all of our great people have the tools and the technologies to safely do what they do. Mm-hmm. And then probably more excitingly, my team leads our digital transformation, trying to make sure we've got the best possible capabilities that really empower and amplify the impact of the amazing people who work in the organization.
Amazing. If there was to say a favorite aspect, what do you love to focus on the most or gives you excitement?
For me, the best part about the job is when I get to work directly with the folks who are making a difference out in the community, whether that's our cancer nurses who are helping people through a very difficult time in their lives, the researchers finding out incredible insights into cancer. It's where we get to engage directly with the people who do such amazing work helping folks in the community. Amazing.
And you've recently shared, I love LinkedIn. So I was reading a LinkedIn article about this, and you described your team keeping a vision board of what's possible. I think everyone should do that. But you talk about from prevention to early detection to ongoing support. When did you really start exploring AI as a tool, as an infrastructure that would help you for specifically, you have this supportive care hotline. When was that coming into existence? And why did the helpline really become one of the first places of focus?
Yeah, I think like many probably, when ChatGPT came out, about 3 years ago now, a short play of that, and you realize the potential amplification of our mission that could be achieved through it. So we spent a fair amount of time thinking about and envisioning where can this technology help us achieve our mission. And we know that 1 in 2 people will get impacted by cancer in their lives. And so there's an immense need for support out there. We could never have enough cancer nurses to provide the one-on-one support to everybody. So how can we use the AI tools to amplify, become their co-pilots to help them do their job, but then ultimately make those public facing and provide trustworthy information in a really accessible format for people. So that was our first big idea.
Yeah.
We started working on that and created some pilots, but then pivoted largely due to funding sources. But when the Victorian government, the Department of Consumer Affairs, gave us a very generous grant to work in the financial counseling space, we pivoted to how can we empower our financial counselors who help people work through what can be a very difficult financial situation when diagnosed with cancer, and help people navigate that better.
Right. That's incredible. This has all been in the past 3 years. Fascinating.
Yeah.
How has the team shifted and or the different tools now been supportive in making this possible?
So one of the things, there's a number of things we worry about. It's so fundamentally important that the information we share is fact-based, high quality. And so we settled on using Microsoft and the Azure AI services for this because we know that there are controls built in for us. And so we believe the magic sauce is really good information on a trusted platform, can provide great outputs for people. And so that's where we're focused a lot on, is how do we make sure that the information we provide is accurate, evidence-based, and something both our counselors but also the public ultimately can rely on.
That's right. How have you seen a transformation happen since putting this into place?
Well, we're still in pretty early days. So the financial counseling assistant is in use with our financial counselors right now in sort of a testing and trying mode.
Okay.
But what we're seeing is it's helping them find information quicker. It's helping them produce follow-up documentation and emails quicker, and is performing very accurately. So we really hope, and we're moving into a public trial shortly, and then aiming to launch publicly at the end of the year.
Wow.
Where we really think, we've only got a handful of financial counselors, and there's so many people who need help that can we offload some of the more straightforward requests and needs to the AI agent and to let our counselors then focus on the more complex situations that some people have.
That's fabulous. One, congratulations. That's a big feat, and I'm sure it takes a lot of intricacies within the organization to make possible. So the helpline experience before, in this case, talking about the counselors, like something that can never be manufactured is time and presence, right? The human interaction point. So for the counselors themselves, what have they said about the experience? And I mean, this is fantastic that you're going to be able to hopefully scale in such a way. But have they said in their words maybe what the experience has been like?
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing is the counselors on a day-to-day basis can have requests from a very simple, how do I apply for something, through to very complex cases where through the cancer treatment, an individual may not be able to work. They may be having trouble paying their rent, putting food on the table. And so there's a need for our counselors to have a really deep discussion about the circumstances of that individual, what their insurances might be, what government supports they might qualify for, et cetera. And so what the AI is letting them do is quickly find some of that information. In pre-AI, they would have been jumping to different websites and looking for processes that that the individual may need to go through with the government. They may be researching what insurances are included in their
taking a lot of time.
Retirement. So it takes a long time trying to search and source information, which distracts them from the really important conversation that they're having with that individual who's having a really tough go.
Right.
So if we can make that easier for the counselors and have the AI agent source the information for them, they can spend their time worrying about the individual that's on the other end of that phone line.
Wonderful. I want to just, listener, for those of you or viewing, is to think about such a great case study into what's an actual problem or scalable opportunity at your organization that technology can solve so that the people can focus on the more human connections, interactions that you need to have. Thinking about, it always starts with, I love today during one of the keynotes, they were talking about, don't actually start with AI, think about a problem. Think about an opportunity, and then think about how the tech can be utilized to help you solve that. One of the most unexpected findings from one of the programs that I want to bring up was an example from a youth smoking prevention program. So you realize that teenagers were more willing to open up to an AI chatbot than call an adult. Can you share this story with us a little bit?
Australia's done a fantastic job of driving down smoking rates over the past several decades. And one of our key services is called Quit. It's the smoking cessation or now tobacco cessation service for much of the country. But really troublingly, we've seen that the curve of reduction of tobacco use has slowed because of vaping and the impact that's having, and particularly on youth. So we began a piece of work to look at what kind of interventions can we make with youth to help them get off the vapes. And through our co-design with a youth population, I was quite surprised because this was probably a couple of years ago now. They were much more comfortable opening up to an AI agent than picking up the phone and calling what they perceived to be a judgmental older adult. And so they really liked the idea of being able to have an open conversation with an AI agent to help them work through the challenges they're having.
How has that informed how you then design a chatbot in an experience like that?
So we're working really hard on tone. How do we ensure that the tone of the chatbot is supportive speaks to them in a more youthful sort of language, because what they don't want is, a 50-year-old guy on the other end of the phone giving them a lecture about their vaping habits. So there's considerable work going into how we do that. The other key one is we're building it as a messaging app.
Oh, okay.
So that the youth can, jump in and directly message the AI agent.
It's meeting them where they are.
Right, exactly. It's an interesting journey. We're now getting to the stage where we're building that infrastructure out. It's all grounded in sort of the behavioral science-based cessation strategies, but introduces that ability to have the conversation.
Yeah, fascinating. We've kind of framed this conversation about being able to widen the care offering, right? Reaching people who might not otherwise get support and or may not feel comfortable in the support. Before, who do you think might have been falling through the cracks? Or you mentioned, the teens is a great example. Maybe they wouldn't have picked up the phone in the first place. Other areas in the organization where you've stood up now these opportunities through technology to be able to be more accessible?
Our traditional telephone support line is overwhelmingly used by a certain demographic, and that tends to be middle-aged women who are most likely to pick up that phone and call. We know others have different ways they want to access information. So our websites and the cancer information we provide on that is a huge resource. Interestingly, we're very concerned of the impact of the AI summaries that are appearing in all of our favorite search engines, because those are doing two things. One, they're drastically reducing the traffic coming to the site as people get their information from the summary.
Yeah.
But interestingly, our colleagues in Europe did a short study around the quality of those responses and found that more than half of the responses they saw actually had inaccuracies in them, which is very troubling.
Yes.
If someone is researching, the cancer that a loved one might have and treatment, et cetera. We believe that the AI agents, if we can build a trusted AI agent, it will reach those parts of the community that don't want to pick up a phone. We can tailor them to communities that are traditionally underserved. So if English is not your first language and you're trying to sort out a whole bunch of dense scientific text around your disease, how can we simplify that down? How can we potentially do that in your language?
Usually the most easy to understand and it's usually very dense. Yeah.
If you live regionally or in a remote area, you've got unique challenges seeking treatment. So how can we help connect those individuals better? So there's just so many areas that as we either directly through the AI or by freeing up the time of our people, allow us to then focus on the specific subpopulations that really need our support.
Yeah. Are you seeing in analytical tools that more traffic is coming to your site through AI, though? Have you noticed that trend yet?
No, honestly,
GPTs and
we are getting some traffic from those, but overarchingly, we've seen a significant decline in the overall traffic on the sites.
This is a really good thing to note for organizations. When you have these great tools now accessible that are of quality and giving great information, how do you make sure people can find it?
Which is one of the big challenges. And even our traditional services, our nurse hotline is often described by people as the best service that they'd never heard of. So again, reaching people across the different channels, and increasingly social media, to spread the message and have them connect to us. We can no longer rely on SEO as sort of the primary driver for us. We have to reach out across the social medias, continue to work to make sure that our high quality information is what the AI engines are referencing.
Right.
But it's an area of concern and we're still trying to figure our way through it.
To figure it out. Yeah, I think we're all in that place. It's all relatively very new. For a CIO at a 90-year-old organization, which is incredible, how did you earn the internal trust for AI adoption, which I would imagine would be its own challenge maybe at times, or maybe not? So that's the first question. And then for all the listeners and viewers that are here, what would you say to those that are going through maybe that struggle internally?
We're on a journey, as everyone else is with this technology. We've taken a multi-pronged approach. We've enabled Copilot Chat for the organization as a default tool that is protected behind our information protection framework, making sure that we're not sending data out to the public engines and whatnot. So we're building trust that you can use the tool safely, but we're encouraging people just to have a go. So we're now up to about 60% of our organization are active users on Copilot Chat. That's growing every month. And so we're just trying to make it something for them that's about how they can amplify their impact. And that's sort of the base level. We're doing a lot of work with our executive team around how they can use the tools and really lead from the front. And then we're making these targeted investments in the really mission-oriented chatbots that we've been talking about here.
Yep.
And those are all being built out in the Azure AI space. So again, they're within our tenancies.
Yeah.
They're grounded on our data and thus much safer to operate than some of the public stuff.
Fascinating. For an organization that might not have all the resources that you do, where would you suggest, with your CIO hat on, where would you suggest that they start?
I'd go for Copilot Chat. It's a free service, and it's just thinking of things, as an individual that take you time and take you away from the important stuff. And then, any of us can do it. I sat down a few weeks ago. For my sins, one of the things I have to do is review a lot of contracts to make sure that they've got the right security provisions in them and we're not transferring data we shouldn't be, et cetera. So I sat down and spent half a day and created myself a little chatbot that I can just pump the contract into, and it will review it against our standards and compare it to other good contracts and our standard templates. And it saves me, hours. So just get into it, have a play.
Because I'm sure that was your favorite part of your job.
It was lovely. I love reading 50-page legal contracts. So the more I can do less of that, while still making sure we're not signing bad contracts, and I can spend that time doing more exciting things.
That's right. Mike, thank you so much for your time here today and for all the work that you do.
No, thank you.